Namaskar. Welcome in this lecture series of Software Engineering Fundamentals. This is Dr. Bright Keswani, Professor in Computer Science and Engineering in Suresh Gyan, Vihar, University, Jaipur. Uh, in today's lecture, we will discuss about software requirement specification document, which is sometimes called as SRS. Uh, when we talk about the learning objectives and the learning outcomes of this lecture, through this lecture, you will learn that how to document the software requirements in an efficient manner. And as far as learning outcomes are concerned, after the completion of this lecture, you will be able to understand the aim and objective of SRS, that is Software Requirement Specification Document, and how to make a good and quality SRS. So let us start our session, our lecture. Uh, the agenda of this lecture is to learn about uh, introduction to SRS, what is SRS actually, and what are its goals and characteristics, and how to use the SRS. Then we will discuss about the components and structure of a SRS document. Then we will discuss about the specification techniques and formal specifications. Let us start with our first agenda, that is introduction to SRS, its goals, characteristics, and use. Uh, Software requirement specification is basically an organization's understanding in writing a client's system requirements and dependencies at a particular point in time prior to any actual design or development takes place. So we can say that we have to make a documentary evidence that what we committed to our client and what he committed to our uh, development team. So it is a two-way insurance policy, you can say, that assure uh, that both the client and the organization understand the others' requirements from that perspective at a given point in time. Uh, we can say that software requirement specification, that is SRS, is a document that describes what the software will do and how it will be expected to perform. Okay, so a typical SRS includes three things. The first is a purpose, second is an overall description, and third is specific requirements. An SRS is the framework that every team involved in development will follow, and this may seems not needed for a solo developer project, but the idea is scalability. So when we are talking about a complex project, software project, the SRS is must. SRS provides a framework and it provides a guidelines to your team members, how to work, how to proceed, the phases, how to develop a software, and what actually clients needs from you. Okay, so using the SRS helps to ensure requirements are fulfilled, providing critical information to multiple teams, and these teams being development, quality assurance, operations, and maintenance. So you have to provide the copy of SRS to development team, quality assurance professionals of the system, and operational staff and maintenance staff also. Uh, you can say that SRS is the blueprint of the system. Okay, it will. You can say it is a framework of a system. You can say it provides a guidelines how to complete a project with low cost, okay, with high quality. Okay, so sometimes the SRS referred to as a uh, parent document because all subsequent project management documents like design specification or statements of work or software architecture specification, testing related information, validation plans, and documentation plans, all are related to it. So you can say it is a blueprint of the system. And SRS contains what? SRS contains functional and non-functional requirements only, and it doesn't offer design suggestions, possible solutions to technology or business issues. Okay, so it is not concerned with your business issues. It is not concerned with the technology you adopted for completion of your project. It is only consisting of guidelines. It is only consisting of functional and non-functional requirements. It is the document which consists of functional and non-functional requirements, which consist of user requirements. Okay, now come to the next part, that is goals of SRS document. What are the goals of SRS document? A well-designed and well-written SRS document accomplishes the four major goals. These are the four major goals. First is feedback to customer. Second is problem decomposition. Third is input to design specification. And last one is production validation check. Let us discuss all the goals one by one. Feedback to customer means what? SRS document provides a feedback to the customer, and it is the customer's assurance that the development organization understand the issues or problems to be solved and the software behavior necessary to address those problems. So feedback from customer is very important, and this is the goal of SRS, to provide feedback to customer. And so therefore SRS should be written in natural language. It is an unambiguous manner that may also include some charts. You can include some, you can draw some tables here, and through the data flow diagrams, decision tables, you can uh, write, you can use any tool in your SRS for the better understanding to the client about the system, and also for better understanding to your team members to develop a best software project. Second goal is problem decomposition. SRS document decomposes the problem into component parts as design suggested, that many components, if you want to simplify the problem, decompose it. So SRS document decomposes the problem into component parts, and the simple art of writing down software requirement in a well designed format organizes information, places border around the problem, and solidify ideas and help to the problem solvers, means uh, provide help to the developer to solve the problem in a suggested manner. Okay. The third goal is input to design specification. Means SRS document serves as an input to the design specification, and it also serves as the parent document, as I earlier said, to the subsequent documents such as the software design specification and statement of work. And therefore the SRS must contain sufficient detail in the functional system requirements so that a design solution can be devised. The third goal is production validation check. So SRS document serves as a product validation check. The SRS also saves as serve as the parent document for testing and validation strategies that will be applied to the requirements for verification. So if you want to verify, if you want to validate the product, you can essentially make SRS document. Let us discuss about the qualities and or characteristics of the good SRS. SRS should be complete. SRS defines precisely all the live situations that will be encountered and the system's capability to successfully address them. SRS should be consistent, and SRS capability functions and performance levels are compatible, and the required quality features like security, reliability. Okay, uh, SRS do not neglect the consistency related issues like it should not compromise with or neglect the security related issues or reliability related issues. The next characteristic is SRS should be accurate. SRS precisely define the system's capability in a real world environment as well as how it interacts or interfaces with it. So this aspect of requirements is a significant problem area for many SRSs, but it is expected that SRS document should be accurate. Now, the next characteristic is modifiable. So, the logical or a hierarchical structure of SRS should facilitate any necessary modification, and that too with a greater ease. Uh, because because the client changes his or her requirement frequently. So if the SRS is not modifiable or it is a rigid type of document, then it will be of no use. So it should be modifiable. Individual requirements of an SRS are hierarchically arranged according to stability, security, and easy to implement. Okay, so you can rank the SRS should be ranked easy to difficult or uh, low level to high level security. Okay, that then it must be uh, stated in such a manner that unambiguous assessments criteria can be derived from the SRS itself. So it should be testable. SRS should be testable. Otherwise, it is impossible to work with a SRS in a proper manner. Then traceable. Traceable means each requirement in SRS must be uniquely identified to a source. That is, use cases should be there, government requirements should be there, or as it should be as per the industry statements, industry standards. Okay, so it should be traceable. Then the next characteristic is unambiguous. SRS must contain requirements statements that can be interpreted in one way only. So it should be unambiguous. And this is another area that creates significant problems for SRS development because of the use of natural language. So SRS should be unambiguous. Then a valid SRS is one in which all parties and project participants can understand, analyze, accept, and approve it. So this is one of the main reason SRS are written using natural language, and natural SRS written in a natural language is a valid SRS. Verifiable is the another characteristic or quality characteristics of a good uh, SRS document. A verifiable SRS is consistent from one level of abstraction to another, and most attributes of a specification are subjective, and conclusive assessments of quality requires a technical review of domain experts. So, when you are making SRS, you should be aware about all these characteristics. Like SRS should be complete, it should be consistent, it should be accurate, it should be modifiable, ranked, it should be testable, it should be as per the government norms or industry standards, so it should be traceable, it should be unambiguous, valid, it should be valid and verifiable. So these are the quality characteristics of a good SRS. Now, the question is, who writes SRS document? There are several people, because software development is essentially a teamwork, but SRS is an important guideline or important document which provides a framework to the other team members, that how to that what client needs, what is the client's requirement, what is the client organization's requirement. Okay, so uh, only system architects and programmers should write the SRS document, uh, not everyone else, anyone else. So now, what is the use of SRS? As I earlier elaborated that in the characteristics of SRS, that there are so many reasons to make SRS a good SRS. There are several uses of SRS documents. There are some benefits, several benefits of SRS and several uses of SRS. Uh, Project managers base their plans and estimates the schedule, efforts, and resources on it. The first use. Second is, development team needs it to develop their product. Okay. The third one is, the testing group needs to generate test plans based on the described external behavior, and the maintenance and product support staff needs it to understand what the software product is supposed to do. The publication group writes documentation manuals, etc. from it, and customers rely on it to know what product they can expect. Training professionals are also needed it, so that they can use it to help uh, develop educational material for software product. So there are unlimited uses of SRS document. Each and every staff member of the subject of the software development team is required the SRS document to do their work. Writing an SRS is necessary for creating startups and launching new software products. And SRS documents creates a framework for development team and help them clearly define what they need to develop. Defining software requirements is an SRS also lays the groundwork for other teams such as quality assurance team, operation team, and maintenance team, and testing team also. A detailed SRS coordinates between these different teams as well, and helps to ensure all software requirements are fulfilled. The teams are sure to run in circles without a detailed plan. Errors came up, deadlines will be missed, cost overrun occur, and the project details and even threaten the company's existence. So, as you can see here that the now I hope you understand that SRS is very important, because without a detailed plan, without the complete SRS, without the such document, you cannot predict the uh, correctness and the completeness of the software product. Since writing an SRS is not right of the writing of SRS is not provided to everybody, so it is a very important document, and it is the responsibility of system architect and programmers to make the uh, SRS in a very correct manner, and it is the responsibility they should follow. They should prepare uh, a document, software requirement specification document, very carefully. Now come to the next point, that is components of SRS. Component and structure of SRS document. An SRS document must contain the following sections. You can see here in this slide, there are 6 points, 6 sections, and each section is divided into several subsections. And they, according to the IEEE standard, the SRS is depicted here in this format, in this slide. SRS development will be a collaborative effort for a particular project and ultimately results into a SRS document. Several standard organizations, including IEEE, have identified the 9 components that must be addressed when designing and writing SRS. What are the 9 components? First is interfaces should be there. Functional capabilities should be mentioned in the SRS. Performance levels should be maintained, should be contained in the SRS. Data structure or elements should be there. Safety measurements should be there. Reliability related issues should be mentioned in the SRS. Security and privacy related issues should be uh, uh, provided to the in the SRS, mentioned in the SRS. And then the quality related issues and constant and limitations related issues should be there in the SRS. So this is the sample of basic outlines about the SRS. This is the basic structure as per the IEEE standard 830 and to 1998. It is the structure as per the IEEE standard. The first section is introduction, and these are the subsections: purpose, document conventions, intended audiences, additional information, content information, SRS team members, and references. These are the subsections of introduction part. And the purpose of the document consists of what? Describe the purpose of the document and the intended audiences. You can mention in these two uh, um, subsections. And scope of this document means what? Describe the scope of this requirements definition effort, and introduces the requirements elicitation team, including users, customers, and system engineers and developers also. And this section also details any constraints that were placed upon the requirement elicitation process, like schedules, cost, or the software engineering environment used to develop requirements. Then overview. Uh, Overview provides it SRS provides an overview of the product defined as a result of the requirements elicitation process. And then um, uh, you can mention the business context here, like it provides an overview of the business organization sponsoring the development of this product. And the overview should include the business missions statement and its organizational objectives or goals. So the business context should be there, the overview should be there, the scope of the document and purpose of the document should be incorporated in the introduction part. Secondly, the general description should be there. uh, you can say it overall description, means product perspective should be there. Product functions describes the general functionality of the product, which will be um, mentioned in other sections also, like product functions. You can write in the product details about the product function. User characteristics and classes, means you can describe the features of the user community including their expected expertise with software systems and the application domain. So all of the overall information, user objectives, general constraints and limitations, assumptions and dependencies, design related part, and implementation constraints, operating environments. You discuss all the things in the overall descriptions. Functional requirements you should also mention uh, in this uh, segment. Uh, uh, this segment lists the functional requirements in ranked order only. Functional requirements described in the possible effects of a software system, and you can say in other words that what the system must accomplish is mentioned in this system, in this section. Other kinds of requirements like interface related requirements or performance requirements or reliability requirements. Okay, those requirements are also you should mention in this section. Short imperative sentences stating highest ranked functional requirement should be provided in the this section, like description of the requirement, like how essential this requirement is to the overall system. You can mention it. Technical issues, if some technical issues are also there, then you can mention it, involve it, the technical issue in your SRS. Cost related and schedule related issues, you can also mention it. If risk related issues are also there, are there, then describe the circumstances under which the requirement might not able to be satisfied, and what actions can be taken to reduce the probability of this occurrence. So you can provide such kind of information, risk related information to uh, the functional requirement section. Then uh, dependencies with other requirements, you have to mention it. If there is any dependency, then you should state that dependency also in this section. Means you have to mention all the functional requirements here. Then external interface related requirements, you can describe in this section how the software interfaces with other software products or users for input or output will interact with each other. What kind of interfaces provided uh, will be mentioned in this section. Okay, like GUI or CUI, you can describe the graphical user interface if present. Okay, this section should include a set of screen dumps or mockups to illustrate user interface features. If the system is menu driven, a description of all menus and their components should be provided in this section. Okay, so you can see that overall information, API related information, describe the application programming interface related information. You can mention, you should mention all related information in these, in use related to the user interface section. Mention, you can mention all such information in the user interface section. In the hardware interface section, subsection, you can mention all hardware, name of the all hardware devices, interfaces to hardware devices, or communication interface means you have to describe network interfaces. Okay, so hardware interfaces, software interfaces, communication protocol and interfaces, and user interfaces you should mention here in this section. Then system features means the fourth section is system features. System feature A means what? If you have more than systems, then you should mention the system feature A, B, like likewise. Okay, so You have to mention the system feature A, like description and priority, action and results, and functional requirements of the system, uh, uh, which you are going to develop. Then the system feature B means, again you have to write the description and priorities of system feature B, action and propose action and results, and functional requirements of the system feature B. Then you have to mention in the last section, you have to mention the other non-functional requirements, like performance requirements if any, then safety requirements if any, security related requirements if any, software quality attributes. There are a lot of software quality attributes. You have to mention all the quality attributes uh, uh, that you committed to the user, uh, you are providing through your software. You should mention it here. Then project documentation, if provided, what kind of documentation is provided, you should mention here. And user documents should be provided here. If any other requirement apart from all related to the inheritance relationship or class descriptions or other domain related specifications or preliminary and final schedule or any other related or operational scenario, if there any, so any other related information you or requirement, you should mention in the segment 6. The appendix, you should mention, you should attach two appendixes here. First is terminology related. If you are having any special terminologies or synonyms of or technical terminologies are there, or some definitions are there of special terms, then you should mention a list. You should attach a list with this SRS document for the reference purpose. And other any other document which you uh, think that it is related to the uh, it is necessary to the for the better understanding, you can attach as appendix B also. Okay, so this is a simple format of SRS. Now come to the uh, next topic, that is specification techniques. There are several methods and languages can be used for specifying the functionality of computer system, and no single language is available which is equal to appropriate of all methods and application domains. Okay, so users of normal specification techniques or methods needs to understand the strength and weakness of different methods and languages before deciding on which to adopt. So specification technique is very much important. Is the distinction between a specification method and a language is a fundamental. A method states what a specification must say. A language determines in detail how the concept in a specification can be expressed. So, specification techniques, there are several if specification technique. So, requirements of a specification technique means what? A few requirements of there are a few requirements of special techniques, that it must be possible to construct a specification with reasonable efforts, or secondly, with some training, it must be possible to read and understand a specification, or a specification must be minimal. So what is the requirement to understand the specifications? First is, it must be possible to construct a specification with a reasonable efforts, so that user can understand, so that the team can understand the specifications or requirements. Then, with some training, it must be possible to read and understand the specification. If some training is required, then go for it and get some training also. Then specification must be minimal. If specifications must be minimal, if a specification is minimal, then it is simple, it is easy to understand the requirements. Then a specification technique should allow us to capture the correct type of information in a natural way. So some techniques should be adopted by the team members for better understanding of the requirements. Okay, so these are the requirements of a specification technique. Then some primary, then we will discuss about some primary components of a specification language. There are three main primary components of a specification language. First is syntax, that defines the specific notation with which the specification is represented, and typically the syntactical domain is based on standard set theory and predicted calculus. So syntax is important. Second component is semantics, that defines how representation describes the system requirements, and it must be capable of expressing things that may not be computable. Okay, so semantics is a component of primary component of a specification language. Syntax is the primary component of a specific specification language. And the relations, the last one is relation. A relation is the primary component of a specification language, because there are uh, some rules that indicate which object properly satisfy the specification. So relations are another important part of the specification language. Now come to the next part, that is formal specifications. So a formal specification is a specification expressed in a language whose vocabulary, syntax, and semantics are formally defined. And these are mathematical entities and may be analyzed using mathematical methods. So you can say that a formal software specification is a specification expressed in a language whose vocabulary, syntax, and semantics are formally defined. Okay, and there are several advantages of formal specifications, like uh, it will provide a precise and unambiguous specifications. It provides a good basis for the effective software design. It may be analyzed using mathematical techniques and it is used as a guide to the tester of a component in identifying appropriate test cases. And lastly, it can be animated to provide a prototype system. So there are several uh, advantages of formal specification, and uh, for that reason, for due to the various advantages of formal specifications, it is widely used in the software industry. Okay, uh, uh, so this is all about this lecture. uh, Now this is the time for assessment. Let us do some uh, questions, multiple choice questions. 10 multiple choice questions are given in this slide. The first question is, which of the following property does not correspond to a good software requirement specification? First is verifiable, second is ambiguous, C is complete, and traceable. So ambiguous is the right answer. Which of the following property of SRS is depicted by the statement conformity to a standard is maintained? correct, complete, consistent, and modifiable. What is the answer? The answer is B. Which of the following property of SRS is depicted by the statement? Conformity to a standard is maintained. Conformity of a standard to maintain means complete. The third is the SRS is said to be consistent if and only if. The first is its structure and style are such that any changes to the requirements can be made easily while retaining the style and structure. The second is every requirement stated therein is one that the software shall meet. The third is every requirement stated therein is verifiable. And last one is no subset of individual requirements is described in it conflict with each other. The answer is no subset of individual requirements described in it conflict with each other. This is the most important thing, and so the right answer is D. Which of the following statement about SRS is or are true? SRS is written by a customer. SRS is written by a developer. SRS serves as a contract between customer and developer. Only first is true. Both second and third are true. All are true. None of the mentioned. SRS is written by the developer is uh, correct, and SRS serves as a contract between customer and developer is correct. So the answer is B. Both second and third are true. In the fifth question, the SRS document is also known as dash specification, black box specification, white box specification, gray box, or none of the above. So because it is not provided the method, or it is not suggested the method or tool to complete the work, it is only uh, uh, provide the information about the expected outcome and in given input to be given. So it is the black box is the right answer of this question. Which of the following is included in SRS? Cost, design constant, staffing, and delivery schedule. The design constant is the answer of this question. In the seventh question, which of the following is not included in SRS? Performance, functionality, design solution, and external interfaces. Yes, performance is included in the SRS, functionality and external interfaces are included in the SRS. Design solutions are not included in the SRS. So the right answer is C. Narrative essay is one of the best type of specification document. Is it true or false? It is false. Consider the following statement. The data set will contain an end of file character. What characteristics of SRS is being depicted here? Okay, the data set will contain an end of the file character. Consistent, non-verifiable, correct, or ambiguous. It is non-verifiable. So the right answer is non-verifiable. The 10th question is, consider the following statement. The product should have a good human interface. What characteristics of SRS is being depicted here? Consistent, non-verifiable, correct, or ambiguous? Non-verifiable. Okay, so in the case of the data set will contain an end of the file character, and the product should have a good human interface. Both are non-verifiable. So the answer is here also the answer is B. So this is all about today's class. If you have any query, then you have to you should consult with these books. These are, and I hope that you will find the reply of your query from these books. I hope this lecture provided you clear cut understanding about the SRS. Uh, uh, Now I am closing this lecture. Thank you. Have a good day.